The ongoing cooperation from the town of Paradise. I love how that was amplified. Thank you. My name is Mark Thorpe, the business advocate for the Paradise Ridge Chamber of Commerce. And I'd like to acknowledge first and foremost the dignitaries that have decided to attend this meeting this afternoon. Presentation, I should say. Terry DeBoe, were you like? Thank you very much from Representative Congressman Doug LaMalfa. Thank you. Sam Perkins, who I understand is on his way, and we're going to embarrass him profusely as he walks in the door, from Senator Brian Dahley's office. And also, we find it extremely honored that Assemblyman Gallagher is here today visiting with us also. We appreciate you being here. Thank you, sir. Greg Boland, Vice Mayor from the town of Paradise. Thank you, sir, for being here. Woody Colton, Council Member, Town of Paradise. Thank you, sir. Do a lot for our community. And Rose Tryon, Council Member, also for the Town of Paradise. Thank you. And what I like to do is, just as a formality, please go ahead and turn off your cell phones, put them on mute, avoid the embarrassment. Also wanted to let you know, you probably saw them on the way in the restrooms. Well, have food and stuff all out here for you in just a little bit. And please don't breathe on your neighbor. We want to make sure that we keep this a safe environment. I'm now going to introduce an important person within our organization. Does a lot for the community, is a wealth of knowledge. We appreciate everything he does. I'd like to introduce Paradise Ridge Chamber of Commerce Vice President, Mr. Warren Bullock.
Thank you, Mark. As the Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce, it's my pleasure to welcome you all to this year's State of the Town event. The Chamber of Commerce was established in 1919 and incorporated in 1941, and Paradise Ridge Chamber of Commerce upholds a legacy of helping build our community. The Paradise Ridge Chamber of Commerce is an organization of people showing and sharing local pride, professional expertise, and a commitment to growth. Together, we promote the civic and commercial progress of our community. Acknowledging the importance of data-driven statistics, in 2023, the Chamber Board implemented a community growth marketing study as a blueprint for a comprehensive plan strategically designed to foster growth and attract new opportunities to the community. The product of this study is the WelcomeToTheRidge.com, a vibrant campaign designed to help grow our community. As we crafted the agenda for today's program, our primary focus was not only progress and milestones, but our chief concern was to bring the issues of our 460 members to a forum for productive dialogue. We actively sought member input to shape an agenda that is both informative and aligns with the Chamber's mission to foster civic and commercial progress on the Ridge. We hope that today's program will provide valuable insights into current issues, future endeavors, and pivotal initiatives shaping the commercial landscape of Paradise. Thank you all for coming and being a part of this dynamic dialogue.
Ladies and gentlemen, Vice Mayor Greg Boland.
You have a great way of making it sound more exciting than it really is. So thank you for that. And thank you for Chamber for doing this and putting this together. This is a great opportunity for us to let you know what's going on in our town. And I just want you to know our town is doing very well. Things are going very well. And I am so proud of where we've come in the last 5 years. This has been a Herculean attempt to try to understand how to come back. And we have a staff that is so dedicated to doing that. You're going to hear from them today about what's going on. And I just want to say how much I appreciate them. They, there's things I've heard as you're going along from different agencies when they're giving grants. One called up and said, are you sure you can take that amount of money? We've never given that amount of money to any jurisdiction ever. And I said, absolutely, we're ready. and he came up here and he saw we were ready to accept that. That was close to $200 million that we got to help our rebuild. Just recently, we heard of one that was open to the whole state, and we got the biggest chunk of that. I think like 40 million or something like that we got, and it's because we were ready. We were ready. We had the projects ready and everything. There's so many different little things we hear. If you want to know how to do grants, talk to the people in Paradise. They know how to do grants. They do it very well. That's the kind of staff we have, and I'm so appreciative of them and what they do. I'm appreciative of the council. We don't always have an agreement on how to get there, but we always have the same goal in mind of what we want to do. So that's always good. So thank you for this time. I know this can be informative and good for you, and our town is doing great. So welcome, and hope you enjoy this. I want to turn it over to the town manager, Jim Goodwin.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be with you here today. I think many of you know that I'm the newbie to the town team. It's been, I think, 9 months now, so that newbiness is starting to wear off a little bit. I'm excited to be here because over the course of my career, I've had the opportunity to work in several Northern California communities, and there is one key relationship that I think is just right pivotal at the top of what makes things work, and that is the relationship between the municipal government, in this case, the town of Paradise, and the business community. And so the fact that we can begin to work together, have worked together, and will continue to work together on projects in order to make the community better really is just phenomenal. And so I want to commend you for the things that you're doing currently. The Welcome to Ridge campaign, everything that we have seen is being done with the utmost excellence. And that is tremendous to be able to work with the chamber to see that happen. In my closing comments, I will make another reference to that and how important that is. I'm lucky because I get to be the bookend. I get to start this program off, and then I get to wrap it up, but all the heavy lift comes in the middle from our team. And one of the key things I've learned in the last several months is that the town of Paradise is blessed with a council that is absolutely committed to their role in leading municipal government. And the management team that is here, again, professionally is at the top. You have a great team working for you. And as you see, as we get into the program, the amount of work that has been done and the important work that has been done over the last 5 years to move the community forward, really this team has done a tremendous job. And so I'm going to get out of the way and let them take it over. So I'm going to first bring up Colette Curtis, who is our Recovery and Economic Development Manager, and she is going to start this program. So Colette.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here with you again. I'm Colette Curtis. I'm the Recovery and Economic Development Director for the town of Paradise. And I absolutely love my job, and this is one of the things I love doing the most, is talking to the residents, the business owners of Paradise about all of the wonderful things that we are all doing together to move our community forward. So thank you for this opportunity. And so my colleagues and I, who are going to be sharing all of this information today, have a lot of information to talk about. And we understand that all questions will be taken at the end. So if you have burning questions, hopefully we answer them during our presentations. But if not, we'll have time for questions at the end. So we are going to begin with an economic overview. So at the town of Paradise, we receive information about sales tax and how that sales tax is coming in. Of course, sales tax is a really important component of our economy and how we are rebuilding our sustainability as we're recovering from the Camp Fire. So first I wanted to talk about some national trends, really kind of broad ideas. And I think we've all heard about this recession that is, has been expected. Now maybe it's lessening a little bit. Really all indicators that we are seeing and we are hearing are that recession is either not taking place or it is so minimal that it's really not meeting the expectations that came out in the beginning. So that's really good news for us, especially here in Paradise. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, were here during the last recession, and that was such a difficult time for our little community. And so knowing that this recession is not coming to fruition in the way that was expected, and also what we're seeing is that our recovery efforts are really buffering us from a great deal of those recession impacts. So we're really in a good position right now moving forward. So that's one of the great things we're seeing. Also, inflation is coming down a little bit. We all are seeing how difficult those prices have been. That is starting to change. So some really good indicators moving forward. So next I wanted to talk about some statewide trends when it comes to sales tax in particular. And of course, Paradise is really different from the state of California. But as you'll see in the next slide, there are some similarities. And in some cases, we are actually kind of more extreme examples of what's happening in the state. So just really generally, you can see, I think the biggest thing to take away from this, there's a lot of information here, is that what was seen in 23 and into 24, there's a lot of negative numbers up here and low numbers, but what you see in the projections for 24, 25 are so much greater than that. So you're really seeing an increase in sales tax statewide, which is really exciting to us to see that economy bounce back. So now we'll talk specifically about Paradise. And I think, we have a really unique economy here. We had a unique economy before the fire, and we certainly have a unique economy now. So this is some of our very specific sales tax data that we receive. As you can see, our fuel and service stations really are some of our highest sales tax producers. And this is just one quarter that I've kind of pulled out to look at, but this is really indicative of what we see kind of quarter over quarter here in Paradise. And this is comparing 2022 to 2023 data. And so you can kind of see some of the changes here. But I think what's important to take from this is sort of the breakdown of where we're seeing increases and also where kind of what our biggest sales tax generators are. And so this is interesting to the town of Paradise as we look to support our businesses and our business community and how we can support this and also try to bolster those areas that might need some additional assistance. Next slide. So this is some of that same data presented a little bit differently. And here you can really see the differences between Paradise and the state, which I think is really interesting. And like I said before, some of these show a more extreme example of what the state is seeing, and in Paradise it's a little bit more extreme. So some of those that I would call out, service stations, which is gas stations, right? So we did see actually a little bit of a decline there year over year, but if you look statewide, that is a huge difference. And of course, gas prices have a lot to do with that. But the fact that we have so much recovery going on here, that again, like I said before, is really buffering some of the impacts that the state as a whole and even the nation are feeling. And so that is something that is interesting. We want to support as much as possible, and we really want to lean into that and help make sure that our recovery is not only benefiting the community and making our community recover, but also helping our business community and insulating you from some of the impacts of these things that we see here. Next slide, please. So some of the highlights to take from that are outlined here. I'm not going to read all of this. But, we're seeing really interesting trends in dining. So we see a lot more people going into sit-down, fast casual restaurants. Service station continues to be our highest sales tax revenue generation. Measure V. So I haven't talked yet about Measure V, which is our local sales tax on top of our regular state sales tax. And all of those funds from Measure V go back to the community. So we don't have to put that into a pool in which we only get a very small section, which is what the rest of sales tax works like. And so Measure V has been an absolutely impactful portion of our recovery, especially since the fire. We really didn't know what was going to happen with Measure V after the fire, not knowing what our consumer behavior was going to be. But because all of the funds from Measure V come back to us, it has really sustained us in these past 5 years. And in one of the major ways that happens is in new vehicle sales. So as you may see, vehicle sales are up. That has a lot to do with the car prices coming down after the pandemic when they were extremely high. But as that happens, anytime you register a car in Paradise, even if you bought it in Chico or in Oroville, that sales tax from Measure V comes here to Paradise. So that's significant. And that really goes for anything like that you have delivered here to Paradise. It's a really important factor. And so Measure V continues to be a very important part of our sales tax revenue. So now I'm going to talk about some really specific economic development initiatives that we're working on in the town of Paradise. So the first is the sewer. Mark is going to talk a lot more about technical information about the sewer as a project. I'm going to talk about it as an economic driver. So you really can't talk about recovery after the campfire without the sewer. We've needed a sewer for a very long time, and there is really recovery without a sewer is very difficult. So that is something that we see not only as an environmental necessity, but also as an economic necessity. So we are working very hard on making that a reality in our sewer service area. There's a lot more information on the website if this is new to you. Wow, welcome. But also there's a lot of information on the website about that. But this is something that we are focused very, very much on moving forward, and we really are getting into very exciting parts of that project, which Mark will talk a lot more about in a moment. So next, we are really focusing on our downtown area, and this is really closely intertwined with the sewer project, actually. So our downtown, which is encompassed from Pearson to Elliott, between Skyway and Black Olive, that area lies completely within our sewer service area, and it also is developing and recovering at a much slower rate than the rest of town. So we see that in building permit data. You can just see that visually when you go and walk around. And so we're looking at that and seeing how can we, once the sewer is a reality, how can we really support and revitalize that area? So we're spending a lot of effort here with our staff in working on a plan to have a vision for that area and really provide some assistance to those property owners and some information on how we can make that downtown what we as a community really envision for it. That vision started with our community recovery plan back in 2019. We want to continue that vision and ensure that we are moving towards the vision that we want as we recover. So we also are working on a workforce training center that would be located at Paradise High School. This is actually a grant application we have pending right now with the state through Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery dollars. So we are hopeful to receive, it's about an $18 million project. So if that is approved, we would begin work with the Paradise Unified School District as well as other partners, including Duke College, the Alliance for Workforce Development, and others, to establish a workforce training center that would be focused on resilient building and forestry technology. So it's something that would be a huge benefit to the kids in our community, to the young adults in our community, and would also draw people from outside of our community to come and learn about some of the things that we've learned here in Paradise and put into practice. We also have been working with the Chico Airport. We were approached, the town of Paradise was approached by the group working on reestablishing air service to make an investment to begin that process. So town council did approve an investment into their revenue guarantee fund, which is basically needed to begin negotiations with some airlines. So they are working very hard on that effort, and we are very supportive of that effort, understanding that having local regional service for airlines in this area is a huge benefit to our residents, but is also a draw for people looking to relocate here, and also is necessary for many business operations. So it's something that's very important to us economically, and we are pursuing that with that investment. And finally, healthcare. This is one of those really big, overarching issues in recovery that is extremely difficult. And I first want to say, of course, the town of Paradise is not in the healthcare industry. We are not going to open a hospital, nor can we. But we are working very closely with Adventist Health and with other healthcare providers to understand what are the gaps, what is needed here in our community, and how can we move forward given the existing circumstances that have been communicated from Adventist Health and what they are looking to do. So we're working very closely with all of those groups. And we have council members who have formed a committee internally to work on those very closely. And so we hope that through that work, we will have some information to share later down the road. But it's a very difficult, complex problem, but we're working on it. That is my last slide. So with that, I will turn it over to Mark Maddox, our Public Works Director.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to give an update about Paradise Public Works' department and our work on infrastructure. So with that, we'll go ahead and change the slide. And I'm going to try and tilt this way, talk right into the mic. So you have to kind of eat this thing. So for Public Works, pre-fire, we operated a budget. We were really excited about grants and sidewalks that we were building every now and again on the scale of $10 to $12 million over 3 years. Today, we're operating about a $470 million capital improvement program budget over the next 5 years, fully funded, excluding the sewer that we are looking to secure funds for later this year. So with that, our work is really divided into 3 critical categories. The normal kind of public services, business as usual, also recovery efforts that we're doing in response to damages caused by the fire, and then resiliency. So this kind of serves as a little bit of an agenda of our update for Public Works. So with that, we'll kick it off and start with public services. For our right-of-way maintenance, we have grown to 8 full-time employees covering our 100 centerline miles of road in Paradise. This includes our facilities, our drainage, our traffic signals, our roads, and emergency response, whether it be fire or snow. So we're always prepared 24 hours a day to respond to whatever the weather or situation will call for. We've also partnered in the last year and continue to do so over the next calendar year with CAL FIRE and the Magalia Fire Center and the California Conservation Corps for fuel reduction projects. So if you've seen work occurring in our drainages or along our roadside with some fire personnel, that's Public Works and fire kind of making it happen in the public right away. And we're really excited and grateful for that partnership and really trying to do our best with 100 miles and I believe acres and acres of property to lead by example of what the public right-of-way should look like to match what the private property side of land should be maintained for hazardous fuels. With that, we are also excited to announce we're launching a new grant that's pending final approval with FEMA any day, and we're securing 3 additional full-time employees, 100% dedicated to fuels reduction in that right-of-way. So that'll include mechanical removal with masticators and other equipment during the seasonally appropriate times of the year, and then look at herbicide applications in the kind of drier months as well to keep those weeds down. So with that, we also have our Paradise Works app. If you didn't know, there is an app for that in Paradise for Public Works if you want to report a pothole, just not too many because we know. But otherwise, if you see a drainage issue or something wrong with the traffic signal, anything non-emergency, please do feel free, download an app on your iPhone, Android. Paradise Works is pretty neat. And so what that does is it gets routed to the correct personnel, and we're able to follow up and communicate with you on that issue until it's solved. With that, we'll go to the next slide and talk about Paradise's first owned street sweeper. I'm so excited to announce and so grateful for USDA grant as well as Measure V that Colette was talking about moments ago. It took us about 16 months longer than we anticipated to get that due to supply chain issues that we experienced in the last year, but it is here, and we are finalizing our sweeping program and protocols to launch that here early spring and keep our roads safe and free of debris and nails and flat tires and trying to really reduce that around town and keep our roads clean. So stay tuned, but that is a beautiful piece of equipment and excited to see it on the roads here soon. Next slide. And what I'm most excited about all of this, but really excited about paving Paradise's roads. So we have secured $100 million in federal recovery funds between federal highways and FEMA to repave all public roads. To date, about 15% of our public roads have been repaved, and 2024, between what we have left over from last year and this year, we'll see about 20 additional miles paved in this calendar year. Utility coordination and clearance is our largest challenge. These roads are such a valuable asset and investment into our infrastructure, and so doing it right up front and the first time with the patience that's required to do that is really, really worth it. We certainly appreciate all of the efforts that are being done to make Paradise more resilient with underground utilities and safe infrastructure for water delivery. So with that, Our goal is to make sure that we are the kind of finishing touch on every public road in Paradise to pave that with fresh asphalt and have a maintenance plan to keep those roads in great condition for the years ahead. So with that, if you'd like to check out where is being paved when, we have an interactive website on our townofparadise.com. And you can show this map, and each color has a different year of when those roads will be paved. So if you'd like to check that out, you can find it at townofparadise.com. All right, now moving to resiliency. I skipped, that was recovery. Those are recovery funds. Now into kind of what makes Paradise better, where just going back the way we were isn't good enough. How can we come back better and stronger? The Paradise Sewer Project is paramount in that, if not the most critical recovery project and resiliency project we can invest in ourselves. With that, we've secured $46 million for environmental design and right-of-way. We are searching for $262 million as time goes on. The project continues to get more expensive, so as much as I'd like to jump back into the early 90s and build it then, we are here in 2024 really looking to kind of finish this project and get it done. We are working with the state budget process and the Division of Financial Assistance and the Water Board for those funds, and are anxiously awaiting some positive news later this year. With that, Paradise Town Council has awarded a really innovative contract through Progressive Design Build with Mountain Cascade and Carollo Engineers. That award was actually made possible through Assemblyman Gallagher's office in writing special legislation that allows Paradise to do things like this to save time and save money. So hiring the contractor and the engineering firm at the same time allows us to get these people into the same room. It's kind of one of the most amazing things I've ever been a part of, to have the construction community talking directly with the engineers, because as an engineer, we never make mistakes. But it's good to get that feedback. I'm just kidding, I promise. It's good to get that feedback up front and really let that collaboration and that innovation occur in real time in advance before kind of a design is progressed along the way. So Mountain Cascade is a great firm. They have a lot of experience, including converting the town of Los Osos. They had about 5,000 connections in their project that they were a part of. And so we look at those 5,000 connections as 5,000 lessons learned on how to do it better in Paradise. So partnering with Carollo Engineers, one of the state's and really nation's most renowned wastewater teams, we really do have the best of the best here in Paradise, looking to do something that's never been done before to this scale to benefit our long-term recovery. So I'm so excited about that. With everything going according to plan, we'd love to break ground late next year, but 2026 is looking most likely with completion in 2028. With that, next slide. All right, another thing, again, really excited about is our new evacuation zone signs. If you haven't seen them, they are up, and they are really intended to be kind of a public outreach and communication tool when we're not in disaster mode and trying to figure out where to evacuate and what zones are being called. The town really took an innovative step to come up with these signs to mirror what is seen mostly on the coast about entering and leaving tsunami zones. And the intent of these signs is to communicate where our zones are located geographically throughout town. A lot of people will have a magnet that will say, my zone is zone 14. But what if you're not at home when a disaster strikes and you're hearing critical messaging coming through Facebook, social media, radio, AM 1500, or early warning sirens? Where is zone 3? So with that, we are hoping to teach our community on how to be more resilient and more prepared in their own day-to-day operations with these signs. And so you will see on the top half at the geographical boundaries and major breaks on major roads, you'll see these signs. About 89, I think, total were installed. And we're really excited to see those. And we're already getting a lot of positive feedback from other wildfire-prone communities looking to mirror this kind of approach for public outreach on evacuation zones. All right, getting to the real fun stuff, we have a huge investment. You heard the Vice Mayor mentioning about the $200 million allocation towards what I categorize as resiliency transportation projects. So those are really what were born in our long-term community recovery plan in 2019 and updated in 2022, is what are the projects that will help us connect long dead-end streets, improve circulation and evacuation routes. And so in partnership with the community feedback as a result of our EDA, Economic Development Administration, transportation master plan. We brought the findings of all of the community gathering, data gathering and feedback and surveys and workshops about what are the projects that should be implemented with those funds. So this is kind of a general map, but we're really looking at major investments along Pence Road. We have Row Road phases 1 and 2 funded. We're widening Skyway between Billy and Wagstaff. We're really excited about that. We're looking at options for potentially connecting either Elliott Road or Nunnally Road to Pence Road. Again, those types of projects that in a 2018 campfire scenario could have actually saved lives. And so that's really exciting to explore those projects further. Looking at safety improvements at Skyway and Pence, looking at safety improvements at Foster and Black Olive. And these projects are in the early stages. We talk about how long it takes to develop something like the sewer or even an annual road rehabilitation project. These are kind of on a whole different level. We're just now starting the environmental review. So if you're hearing this going, oh my gosh, I haven't heard it, and this is the first time, it's because it's brand new. We're just starting these projects. There's a whole process for environmental review and partnering with our community about right-of-way and discussing the project impacts and weighing to decide if we're going to move forward with the project and then what that project looks like. So really excited on what is ahead. We anticipate that environmental design process kind of taking the next couple of years and see these projects coming to construction in through 2026 and 2028. I guess that's the last slide. So with that, I'm super excited to introduce Susan Hartman, our wonderful, amazing Community Development Director. Thank you.
All right. Hi, and good afternoon. I'm Susan Hartman. I'm one of 2 Community Development Directors for the town. The other is Tony Lindsay, here with me today. Community development is one of the biggest departments for the town. It encompasses 6 different divisions over at the Building Resiliency Center, and that is building, fire prevention, code enforcement, planning, wastewater, and solid waste. So we just want to give you just a quick snapshot of some of the updates for planning and zoning regulations that have happened recently, as well as where we are on building codes. One of the changes that we made to the zoning ordinance, and this was really a push from a change in state law, was changing large family daycares. Anybody on the ridge who used daycares pre-fire knew what a terrible need we had post-fire for those kind of facilities. And so we removed all of the permitting requirements for large family daycares, now allowing providers to provide those services in their homes for up to 14 children where they're just treated like a family. And there's no permits required for that from us anymore. Another was adding a zoning regulation about short-term rentals. Pre-fire, in order to do rentals that were 30 days or less in a facility, it needed to be a bed and breakfast. So we wrote a new ordinance, and that's now part of it now allowed in all the residential zones. So if you're in a commercial zone, you're really looking at hotel-motel situation, but now the residences can use those too. We updated our commercial zoning and our downtown areas, their design standards. We wanted to bring those into compliance with some of those recent defensible space standards that we'd made so that commercial structures also had that 5-foot non-combustible around them. We needed to update some of the language about landscaping. I don't know if you know, but the state actually regulates the minimum landscaping requirements whenever you're doing commercial landscaping, so we needed to update that. And we wanted to build it out so it provided more information about what we actually wanted the buildings to look like instead of so much about what we didn't. So those got built out. And then also building codes. So those get updated every 3 years. We're right in the middle of a cycle right now. We're about a year and a half in, right? So next summer, late summer, early fall, that's when you'll be able to preview what the new building codes are going to be. And then they'll become effective January 1st of 2026. So if anybody is, getting their plans ready or thinking positively about rebuilding, keep the December 31st of 2025 date in the back of your mind, because that's the last submittal date to get locked in under these codes. And I think it's pretty common knowledge that building cycles never get easier, right? So some of the processes that we do in community development to streamline development and support business growth. This is just, again, a quick sampling of some of the things that we do. One is that we were able, through grant funds, to purchase some ADU plans, and those are accessory dwelling units. Our ADU plans are very small. They're less than 750 square feet. We completely respect what Rebuild Paradise is doing, and we did not want to compete with their plans library. So ours are smaller, but they are available for use for free from the public. You don't have to purchase them from us. And no matter what mastered plans you use, because these have already been pre-approved, you use ours, you use Rebuild Paradise, you might have some private ones yourself if you're a developer. Those plans are fast-tracked through Plan Check, and the cost is only 50% of normal. So there's some incentive to use those. We also keep moving forward with trying to get building applications available online. And so we were able to, just this last fall, launch our first one to kind of work out the bugs first before we go to the big stuff. And that was residential rooftop solar. I'm sure you know that all new homes require solar on it. So we're constantly processing solar permits. And most of the solar companies, right, they're coming from out of town to deliver those. So the hope is to help streamline that process for them. So we partnered with a sister software that you go and get pre-approved by your plans, and then you can log into ours and just get your permit applied for and issued to you without having to come up the hill for those permits. One of my favorite projects is the septic as-built maps. We partnered with Rebuild Paradise that after we scanned about 11,000 maps, they were kind enough to host them on their website. So anybody who's actually submitted building plans, you remember putting together a site plan, you have to show where the septic is on there. And most people don't have those maps on them. So to alleviate having, again, to come into town, because a lot of people have been displaced, we have those uploaded on the website so you can just download it and save yourself a little bit of time there. Another process we have, and this isn't a new one, it's just I don't think a lot of people know about it, is the preliminary development reviews. And this is primarily geared towards commercial and bigger developments, maybe a subdivision. That if you wanted to get some preliminary feedback from the town before you made final decision, before you submit your actual plans, if you just submit some draft plans to us, we'll circulate those through all the reviewing agencies that are going to look at your real set. And what we're looking for is to provide you any feedback about any red flags we see ahead of time so you can get those fixed early on. Or is there maybe some big ticket item that's going to be very financially impactful to your project that you need to think about or work on, maybe do a small redesign. So it gets you that information early, and that's a free process that we offer. One other thing that we've been doing is myself and our Recovery and Economic Development Director, Colette, we also meet with new businesses, just one-on-one. So they can tell us about what their building processes, their business proposal is going to be. We'll go through what the permitting requirements are. Colette's really good about what kind of services do we have that we might be able to assist, or other agencies that could assist you, typically financially. And so that's something that we've been offering and had the great opportunity to meet some new business owners in town. And then building off of that, recently we've been in talks with the chamber to try to even build up more written policies or written checklists, I shouldn't say policies, more checklists for people looking to open new businesses so that you can get a better understanding of all the local, the countywide, and the state, perhaps permitting requirements that you need to go through. And so look forward to that. We're going to hopefully get something on the website, something we can hand out to prospective business owners just to help them through the process easier. And then some of the projects that our department's working on is we have over 100 affordable housing units in various states of either permitting right now or construction. On Cypress Lane, right, that's North Clark above Wagstaff, there's a project that's 70 units up there that's permitted, so they'll be starting soon. We've got 43 units on Maxwell going right next to the hospital. They're coming close to being done. And then we are processing in Plan Check right now a senior affordable unit complex over on Penn, so it's north, kind of across from where the old Fort Haven was. We also are using grant funds to coordinate a free household hazardous waste event, another one this year, and that's going to be on Saturday, May 4th from 10 to 2. We hold those over at NRWS's yard, always very popular, so put it on the calendar. And then we are also working with a consultant using grant funding to do a sewer service overlay zone. So what we're trying to do is make sure that when Mark's ready to be shovels in the ground and building that sewer, our zoning is following up behind it to allow the greatest use for, in this case, multifamily. That's what we're looking for. Right now, the most you can build on an acre of land is 15 units because that's the most septic could accommodate, even with an engineered system. So we're looking to double that up to 30 for those developments tied to a sewer along, those major corridors, Clark, Skyway, and Pearson, where the sewer is present. Another thing that we're working on is the general plan. So the general plan as a whole hasn't had a comprehensive update since 1994. And so post-fire, we've updated 2 of the 7 elements so far, housing and safety. Those are by far the biggest and most time-consuming because they require other state approvals. The other 5 will be coming next. They're more done at a local level. And I think that's what people think of when they think of the general plan because it's going to include the land use element. And that's really where we as a community provide feedback to the town about what kind of land uses do you want to see and where? Would you like the industrial areas expanded? Do you want different uses focused on for the commercial zones? That's where we're collecting that information. And when we're done with that, that's where you see that update to the zoning regs, is once we finish up these last 5. So that should be in this next 3-year segment to get those done. And then we also were a partner with Parks and Rec for a grant to help us continue studying the feasibility and implementation of wildfire buffers. And that's really taking a look at fire pathways outside of the town and how fire travels towards us. And it's very scientific and so interesting. But what we're trying to figure out is what are the best parcels to acquire and maintain in a defensible space sort of manner so we disrupt those fire pathways. We know we can't stop the fire, but we know we can slow it down. And it'll give us more time to react and evacuate if we need to, and it gives public safety more time to get in to fight the fires. So that's what these studies are doing, is figuring out what are the most impactful parcels to get a hold of to disrupt those fire pathways, and then putting those aside as wildfire buffers. More than likely, all of these are going to be in the county, right outside our peripheries, but we're talking about both canyons as well as the south end of town. So this is a big one in terms of risk reduction for the town, and we're very excited to move forward with that. And then with that, I'm going to pass it on to Kate Anderson, our housing division manager.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. I am so proud of this community because we really do embody resilience. We come together to overcome obstacles. I don't know if any of you saw the national piece on CBS about Dundee the cat. If you haven't, you have to Google it. It's amazing. But the same is true for our housing. We have faced, since we lost 90% of our housing, we have faced COVID, we have faced material shortages, labor shortages, interest rate hikes, and insurance challenges. So what is amazing is that we still come together and we create change. And you will see that it's evident in the people in our community, and it's evident in the data. So a lot of times I talk about the data in terms of the number of units of housing that we've built. We have 35% of our housing that we've built and 5% under construction. But I wanted to bring some different data to you, and this is MLS data. So the chart on the your left is December of 2022, and then on the right, 2023. So we can see some trends. Keep in mind that some of this data is specific to the month of December and others is for the year, and I'll go over that with you. Carl Hanker diligently put this together. He was with Coldwell Banker. Every single month for us, I will show you some trends based on that monthly data, and it's really telling, so I think you'll enjoy it. So if you look at active listings from one year to the next, it looks like it fell off a bit from 98 to 84. That is within the month of December. You can see that in 22, 17% of those were under 350, kind of more in that affordable area, whereas 83 was above that. A year later, we're up to 20%. That's a little bit more affordable. Yet 80% is still up at that. Closed residential sales is a real telling piece of information. We had, at the end of 22, we had 273 closed sales. At the end of 23, we had 271. That looked pretty flat. However, Chico lost 376 units or sales. We lost 2. Orville lost 115. Again, we lost 2. Medalia lost 67, and we only lost 2. So it's very telling where our housing market is at. Current supply is somewhat even. Price per square foot is actually even. Days on market has actually improved. If I do recall correctly, the December of 22 was just about the time interest rates changed, and there was a lot of uncertainty. Now, the average price sold, it would look like, and we're going to look at the data on this, that the average price went down. That was in December of 22 was 466. In December of 23, 392. That was only within that month. So I'm eager to show you some other data. And then, of course, our population change, that was by the year. And if you're like me, I get excited. I can't wait for the next year's population change. It should be coming out May 1st. So, we're growing. I think we're over 10,000 right. So on to the next slide. This is our active listings, and you can see the areas where there's no data. Carl just hadn't done those. By the way, he retired, so unfortunately we only have the data through the end of December. But you can see early on 2021, our active listings were quite low, and look what we have done since then. We have quite a bit of active listings. The red line is the total. The second line down is above 350, and the line at the bottom is below 350. And I just want to mention that, like March, April, we had very little available for that affordable. And we talked with developers. We have a housing advisory committee that's made up of contractors, citizens. There's a realtor, a financial advisor on the committee, nonprofit housing groups, and staff. We meet every month and we talk about these things to see how can we affect change. And I believe that in talking with contractors and telling them that we have programs, we have money available, we just don't have the houses available. We have several contractors who changed their model and started building a more affordable home. So that's been quite a win for us. So the current housing stock, again, similar to the active listings, you can see that since 22, we have much more available in the current housing stock. Those are definitely signs of a healthy housing community. Average sales price. We saw 466 go down to 392, but look at it by the month. That kind of shocked me at how even that trend really is. Right around 400,000, 425,000 seems to be the average sales price per month. On to the next slide. So price per square foot is a funny one because it's faced with so many shortages and what's happening in the market. But again, the trends that I see in this slide month over month indicate 250 to 260 a square foot. Remember that these are sales. It's not the price to construct. This includes the land, so the overall price is $250 to $260 a square foot, including land. So in closing, I just wanted to mention that, again, I'm very proud that we are able to come together to overcome, and in particular, almost forgot a slide here. Our housing programs that are still available are really important. We have 292 units of affordable rentals that have come in. If there's one group that's been the hardest placed after the Camp Fire, it's been renters. It's just hard to build those units. Now we have affordable rentals. We still have a reconstruction program for anyone who wants to rebuild. Just this week, I sent a package off to Iowa. Elderly couple who went there after the fire 5 years later. They really want to come home, and we can assist them. We get those instances several times a week. Probably 3 to 5 people call us per week, still wanting to come home to Paradise. We have a down payment assistance program for anyone. It can be up to $100,000. Anyone interested in moving to Paradise does have income restrictions, but they are funds available and substantial funds. We're trying to create an infill new construction program to help residents build, people who have acquired lots after the fire. Running into a little problems with the state. It's been about 2 years trying to get this program up and going. So we hope that will be coming soon. We offer homebuyer workshops available to the public for anyone, no income restrictions. We have a lender, a realtor, a insurance agent, and an escrow officer come in and talk about their role in the process, so it's really quite helpful. And lastly, we still have so many nonprofits who are providing services to our community. As a matter of fact, 211 provided me with a huge laundry list. So don't forget about 211 because I forgot to put them up there. But Rebuild Paradise, Habitat, Love Gives, RAP, which is assistance with clearing your lot. There really are a lot of resources still available. So I started to say in closing that I'm proud of where we are and how we're affecting change, particularly in the housing market. And it to me, in spite of everything else that's happening, we have a very strong, healthy housing market. So I'd like to turn it back to Jim.
Well, I hope you found this interesting. I know we want to get to your questions, and so I will wrap this up pretty quickly. First, just in these final comments in these last moments of our time together, one thing that I've learned is a phrase that I'd never heard before, but you've lived, and that is the term construction fatigue. We know that it is inconvenient and uncomfortable to bump around on the street, have to stop along the way to interrupt your route to wherever you're going. And my encouragement is to just be patient and recognize that we're 2 more years into the bulk of what's going on and that there is an end in sight. And so my request of you is, again, to just be patient. Let us know that there are big problems when you encounter them, but again, just be patient knowing that this journey that you have been on is coming to a close, that we are going to get to the end of it, and that end is getting closer all the time. We didn't talk a lot today about our ongoing services. We talked a lot about the town's rebuild and where we're headed as a community. But a reminder is that the town is providing regular municipal services, primarily public safety, all the time. And those folks are out there doing a great job. And our prediction for our future is stability. Right now, we are in a position that we will be able to continue to fund services that match our footprint and not just our population. And then that is key to understand. is that, yes, if you look at the town's budget, you're going to see that the town runs with a general fund deficit that is made up from the pro funds. And that basically helps us be able to provide ongoing municipal services, hopefully for the next 2 decades, in order to allow the town to recover and to grow back into a tax base that supports the services. So that is going to continue, but know that we are very, very stable. 2 more points. One is that one of the great things that I see in this community, and it's really fun to be a part of, is the level of collaboration that happens in this town. We are working with the business community, with the chamber. Again, great projects that are being put forth by the nonprofit organizations. Great public agency partners, the Paradise School District and PID and PRTD. We are working together to get through this rebuild. Also, again, the ongoing services that just make the town better. And the last thing, and I mentioned when I started that there are some great things that the Chamber is doing that really has a focus on the town's future that we see very keenly. And that is, again, your Welcome to the Ridge campaign that you're doing such a great job with. When we look at our long-term future sustainability, and we do the predictions in our modeling to look at how long our programs are going to last, when are we going to be able to reach that equilibrium between our general fund resources and our... We know that families moving to the ridge is critical for that. And so it's just we're doing kind of purpose to move that forward because that's going to have such a great impact for the community. Last thing for me is that I think I have a little bit of the privilege of being able to, when I come up here every day, I am somewhat like the new residents that are moving to town. My vision isn't so much on what was lost, is that I am experiencing what is today. And what is today is a great community. When you begin to think about what it's going to look like when Mark gets to the end of all these projects, every public road in the town is going to be paved. When PID is done finishing water lines, we're going to have new water service laterals, mains throughout the community. PID is working on parks. We have new schools. And so when somebody new comes to this community, they're seeing roots. And they're excited about the future of the community they're living in. And so I think that's just a tremendous thing to really begin to really, there is just this bright future that can be all part of pretty exciting to be able to do. So with those closing remarks, Mark, are you going to come and handle questions? Okay, we will turn it over to the store. Doesn't he have a great voice, by the way? Don't you love Mark's voice?
Thank you so much, Jim. We appreciate everything you do, and especially in the short period of time. Thank you to the town staff. We can't say that enough. You guys work extremely hard and are oftentimes not acknowledged because it's an inundation every single day. But we notice, and we appreciate you. I do want to put a couple of plugs out there real quick before the Q&A begins. The third, that is this next Wednesday, there's going to be the United Policyholders over at the BRC. It's important for those that are interested in knowing more about the insurance status. Not saying that United Policyholders has all the answers. We wish they did, but this is a key issue, and you're going to have the opportunity to attend at 3:00. Put that on your calendars. That'll be something that's very interesting. Also, how many of you had the opportunity to go to the Habitat for Humanity dedication this morning to a house? I see some hands. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Anytime that a single man with 4 children who is down and out receives hope, it makes us all tear up. We're doing the right thing. And we appreciate Habitat for Humanity for all that you do. We will have a ribbon cutting on the 6th of April. Be there because you get another chance to be tear-eyed like the rest of us. It's a good thing, and we all work extremely hard, and having the opportunity to celebrate with each other, we'll take every opportunity we can get. Okay, so moving on. Want to go into the Q&A, and what we're going to do in this process is the best we can We're not in a big hurry. We got the food coming here real shortly. But if you do have a question, you want to make it specific to a particular staff member or the Chamber of Commerce, please let me know so that we can bring that individual up and we're not yelling from out there in the area where the folks on YouTube are not able to hear this. This is important. So if you do have a question, please raise your hand and I can acknowledge you. If you would please stand and identify yourself. Thank you. And you want to know why it's not available to the residents? Thank you. And we have a response from Mr. Goodwin.
Thank you. The town committee is actually just a subcommittee of the council, and they are together just to begin to try to put some things in motion. And so what we're anticipating to happen is at some point there will be some type of assessment that will be done of healthcare in the community, and that will be a very public process that will engage anyone that wants to participate. Again, the council discussions have just really been, what kind of steps can we do that we can facilitate to make some things happen? Again, we are currently seeking funding that we hope will be committed to do a healthcare assessment on the Ridge. And once we have that funding, that project can begin to move forward. I can't speak to the last 5 years. I can only speak to what's going on right now.
Thank you very much, Mimi. A good question and a point of interest for a lot of individuals within our community. And I know that the council's been working that through in process individually and otherwise. So we appreciate the question. Does anyone else have a question? Please identify yourself, sir. Right. And we'll have Mark Maddox come up and answer that question. Thank you.
All right. So I'll repeat the question. Thank you, Alan. Great to see you again. So the question is, the town does have the question was, does the town still enforce an ordinance that requires moratorium areas and certain pavement restoration standards after there's undergrounding or any sort of trench excavation work on our public roads? And the answer to that question, both of those questions, is yes. However, there is a balance in some of the planned work that we have, and most specifically isolated cases to where the only waiver to standards that we look at is, say, there's a trench work going on right now in a neighborhood that we are planning on paving in April. We have partnered on small exceptions on pavement restoration, not for the actual pavement itself, but for maybe the width, being that we are going to come back in. If you actually looked at one of our slides, it had a pulverizing machine that does full depth reclamation, so it takes everything and chews it all up. And so we're trying to work with them to make sure that, hey, this actually is going to get destroyed here in a month. Let's go with a more realistic approach for pavement standards. So with that, though, we do know there's a lot of work going on throughout town and a lot of temporary trench restoration and management about the day-to-day conditions when we have inclement weather like this. I was just using Pearson Road and seeing the impacts of all of the work and some of the temporary patches. And so we have eyes out in the field, and we work with those contractors on a daily basis to address these kind of different changing conditions. That temporary mix can change hour to hour, not just day to day or week to week, hour to hour. So we're doing our best to stay on there. But relating to the question about moratorium areas, when we have new paving, we have a moratorium that's for 0 to 3 years. There's absolutely no cuts in the road unless there's an emergency. And then 3 to 10 years, we have an increased standard that says if you're cutting into new pavement, it has to have a pavement restoration area that is much wider than the typical trench. For example, maybe even a whole lane. So those are the things we're still doing. But to get to their kind of original point is, I think, more so about the day-to-day Our biggest push is to let us know if you see something that we're not aware of. Again, those conditions change, and we can get in touch with the contractor responsible for that work. All right.
Another question. Anybody want to ask any questions about how pure our water is in this community? Go ahead. Ask the Chamber of Commerce how important the water is in our community. And if we hear another, oh, I can't because, ladies and gentlemen, we have the best water on the planet as far as I'm concerned. Anybody else have a question? We want to entertain. This would be the opportunity. Mimi, please. Question for Susan Harvard.
Hi, thank you. The question was about setbacks from a creek increasing from 50 feet to 100 feet. Those standards have been in place since 1994 and they have not changed. The only recent change that we've made to the septic ordinance was about setbacks from undergrounded utilities, and that was new. But seasonal streams and creeks are still 50 feet, year-round are 100, and there are some areas in town that actually have a 200-foot setback, and that stems from contamination issues that the town had in the 80s and early 90s. But we haven't changed the stream setbacks. Thank you.
Great questions, folks. Keep them coming. And don't just keep it with the public sector. If you have any questions pertaining to the private sector, we're more than happy to answer those, especially with the welcometotheridge.com. With it being such a robust program, we want to make sure we answer any questions from the chamber. Any other questions that you have? Realtors, this is the time. If you have the opportunity to ask a question, now would be the time. Okay, it doesn't look like there's any additional questions. What we'd like to do is go ahead and have you mill about yourself, ask those questions amongst yourselves. We'll have the food out here. You do have a drink ticket. Please take advantage of it. And it looks like we're going to come to a conclusion on this and looking forward to our next one. And again, I want to appreciate the Elks and them providing this beautiful venue. It's okay. And also the ongoing collaboration between the Town of Paradise and the Paradise Ridge Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.